Hey everybody, and welcome to Libromancy, a podcast about the magic of books. I'm Josh, and today I'm talking about A Magic Steeped in Poison by Judy I. So let's brew the magic of books. Now, this was a really fun and great first book for an author. This is Judy Lynn's first. I think she did an amazing job. It definitely is a YA book, but I think for being a YA book, it's a really good YA book. It has some tropes, of course, that it's going to follow, and you can kind of predict certain things, but I think the way they are done is well done, and I really like that about it. I always really like the whole tea pouring kind of a thing, just as like a calming meditative thing, and now with the magic being thrown into it, I think that's just so fun and so cool, and I like that. And the cover for A Magic Steeped in Poison is amazing. It is so colorful and evocative, and the way the words are almost hidden sometimes, I really think that the cover is a huge bonus for this book. So I really liked it. And it was tough to put down. I got an advanced reader copy and I read it. And once I think after I got through the first chapter, it was really, I just didn't want to put it down. Now, not to say that the first chapter was bad or that it could be spiced up more. I just was doing other things when I was reading the first chapter. And then after that, I could dedicate more time to it. So I did. Now, another thing I really like that's just kind of in a general non-spoilery thing is that I loved the way that she works all of these sayings into the story. They were great and well done. So I liked that. Now, let's talk about, we're going to get into the spoilers here. I know it's 2 minutes in and we're already talking about spoilers, but there's just so much to talk about. So I think we're just going to get right into it and go forward. So let's talk first about the plot of the story. Now, like I said, this book is going to follow kind of your classic YA tropes, which means that it does follow a YA tournament style trope, but obviously this one's a little different because it is not a tournament of prowess. It is a tournament of prowess, but it's more a tournament of tea pouring and making tea and being the Shenong Tu, which I love the way she was able to work all these like words that sound, I don't know if it's a real word, a Shenong Tu. It sounds like it is, but I don't know. But I love that she was able to work them in and they feel real. And she was able to work them in a way that never made me feel like I was dumb. You know, there are a couple times where she uses the Chinese words, it feels like, and then I don't know if that's what it is or not, but or maybe not Chinese, maybe Taiwanese, because that's where she's from. But either way, I didn't know what they were, and then kind of explains it a little bit. So I like that. Now, the tournament obviously is about being the new Shenong Tu and being the one to the Empress, or the Emperor and the Empress, the Princess Empress. And it was really interesting that they start with like 50 or 60 people, and then the next one it's down to 16, and then 8, and then 3. I was really surprised at how fast she was able to cut down the number of participants and the way that the trials and the tests worked for, thinning down the numbers. Now, one thing, I was ready to be mad about one thing. Well, there's 2 things I'm still mad about in the testing, but one of the things is that I really hate it when a tournament is like, this is a tournament for sword fighting, and, you guys are just so good, but we have an extra person, and we didn't really think we'd have an extra person, so I'm going to, here's another test. Whoever can climb up to the top of this hill the fastest and back down is the winner. It's like, well, that has nothing to do with sword fighting. Kind of endurance, but, realistically, you're competing to be the best swordsman, not the best run up a hill and come back down, right? And so I dislike it when the tests are completely unrelated. And in the beginning, one of these tests seems like it's going to be unrelated, but then Judy then brings it back and says, no, this is how it is related. And like a true Shenong Tu or Shenong Shi can, our main character Ning can sense plants and kind of talk to them and convert, not talk with them because that's weird, but that's not weird, but that's not what it is. So she's able to communicate with the lilies and be like, oh, they brought something and this is what it is, and they found it. And so that part was really fun and really cool. I like that. It was a good twist, and I was like, I was ready to hate that, and then I loved it. So meanwhile, back to the plot. At the same time that this competition is going on, we learn that there are assassins trying to assassinate the princess, and that the emperor has died, and that they need to bring in the princess is going to become the empress. So it's just a lot of turmoil and and you can kind of see where this is going already, right? But I thought it worked really well. They were able to contrast the ascension of the princess to be empress while also keeping the trial on track. Now, okay, actually, there's two things, other things that I disliked about the tournament, but this is more because of how invested I was in the tournament, in the book, that I got so kind of worked up about it. The dumb judge, I don't remember which one it was off the top of my head, who interrupts her during the first test because she's reading some poetry while she does it. Like, can you see with your eyes? Does it look like she's about to be done and pour the tea? And then you can question her. Or does it look like she's actually trying to stir up unrest? Is she like talking to the people that you think she's trying to stir up? Or is she talking to the judges who she's not? You know, she's just reading a poem. Like, don't you understand how a competition works? You do not get to interrupt and cause the test to fail. Like, oh, he should be thrown in a pit forever and die. Except he would not be. He turns out to not be that bad at the end. Well, he was bad because of nepotism and favoritism and such with that, trying to cheat. But on the whole, he was not bad and not part of the rebellion. So I guess he gets a pass there. Now, the other thing I disliked, or I thought was just, I was like, in one of the final tests, they are all creating a tea brew to help the champion defeat the monks, the guardians of the sacred gods. They're just people who are very skilled, right? And they use the same person for every challenge, 1, 2, 3. And it's like, well, this is a little unfair. Like, whoever's first obviously has to, like, he gets the first clean guy, you know, no untainted, and then the second one goes, and he gets the benefit of that, of the previous guy, and the third one gets the benefit. And yes, your character's a little bit more tired, but when you're dealing with magic and enhancement, I don't think that's much of a thing. I thought it would be better with 3 different people, but the way it worked was really good, and I did like it. Okay, and then just, I keep going on about this, but like, the one more thing is during the first tournament, the first tournament trial, one of the competitors is doing his presentation and he's pouring his tea and he's washing his teapots, and they give names for all of these steps basically. And I love that. Just like, I'll give you some of them. Dragon shakes off the morning dew after sleeping. Dragon encircles his royal residence. I love this kind of stuff. Same as with like sword forms, where it's like eagle rushes down the mountain or the boar stops a cliff or something. I don't know what they are, but whoever makes those up and puts them in books for like the forms or the movements that you're going to be making, I love those. I think they're so evocative and they work so well for me. I love them. So now back to the plot. The exiled prince, the banished prince, the princess's uncle does come back. He is making a play to take over the city, so she does escape with our main character Ning, and they depart the city. Now let's get into a little bit of let's just stick right there at the end of the book where we're at. I thought it was so cool that her sister, who they'd both been trained a little bit at Shenong Tu, and then Ning, our main character, had to go work with her dad to be a doctor because her sister couldn't handle the blood, even though Ning has more of a talent for it. And the sister continuously working on the antidote because she's poisoned and sick with something. And I love that she transcribes her antidote efforts into stitching and then sends it to her because her dad would realize it any other way. Like, that was just cool. Like, oh, I see, like, you stitched kind of like how you did, like what ingredients you were using and how it worked. And then, you know, she goes home and saves her sister, and that was awesome. And then the book cuts off and ends there. But since the second book, which I think this is just going to be a duology, has a release date of August 23rd. I am not quite so worried about it. Like, it didn't bother me that it cut off so well because we have a firm date and everything, and so I liked that. Now, I think that some of the writing in here was very good. She used all 5 senses when she is engaging you in a new scene to really bring you into it. And I especially loved how much like the sense of smell and the sense of taste went into it, because you don't generally get a ton of kind of taste senses when you're reading books because it's hard to do. But with this being, you know, focused so heavily on teas, I feel like she was able to really put forth that scent and the taste senses into the book, and then it really comes out with you. And some of the scenes where she's describing the backgrounds or the walls is just like, ooh, it's very evocative and really good. So I like that a lot. Now, Ning is our good main character, and we really feel like you really see all of into her, and she acts just, I mean, I don't know if she acts 100% like a teen would act, but for the most part she does. And she has this great character. And I really did feel like the characters acted appropriate to their ages for the most part, 90% of the time. Very little of teenagers acting like they're way older. And I liked that she was able to kind of call out a little bit, almost hanging a lampshade on it, that like, yes, the reason why the princess is using these two girls instead of any of her other trusted advisors is because of X, Y. And I felt like it worked more than it has in other stories that I've read. So I thought she pulled that off really well. Now, back to characters. Some of them can sometimes feel a little flat. Sometimes her friend Leon felt a little flat because we don't spend as much time with her, but we do get that sense that she is more than just what she presents herself, and so that worked really well. I also liked the character of Bo, otherwise known as King, the son of the banished prince. I thought his character was very good, and I really loved the interactions between King and Ning and their relationship, how they feel drawn to each other, and then they push away, of course. Because it's a YA book, that's what's going to happen. You have to just, expect what you're going to expect and see how it plays out. And I thought it was good. It was not 100% just manufactured directly for it, but you could see and really understand, like, yes, this is why she's doing this, because this is why they're pushing apart from each other, because they're both headstrong and think this is right and this is what they're doing. There was one part where I was like, Ning, you're such a ding dong. Like, what are you thinking? Just because one person told you that this is the way it is, and he's done absolutely nothing to like make you think otherwise. You cannot just believe this other person that says they have all the truth in the whole world about this character, when like clearly that's not the case. Like, you've been with him, you thought about it. Like, he didn't just want to go straight up and murder everybody. He was like, no, I want to be here for peace and I want them to stand with us. And then she's like, well, this one counselor said it was bad, which I would like to point out, I did figure out that it was Counselor Zhao who was the traitor. I felt proud of myself for figuring that out. I did not figure out anything else that was going to happen in the book until the very end, right before it happened, of course. But I did kind of see see Counselor Zhao being the baddie here, the traitor. And I did like that she ended up going home. But I do have some predictions for what'll happen. I think that her mayor, city leader, is working with the rebels, and that, well, I think it's pretty much confirmed that he is working with the rebels, because we know that the poison is most likely actually coming from her hometown province and not the Luzhou province where all the criminals are sent and condemned to work in the salt mines. So I think I'm excited for that. I'm really excited for Ning and Kang to hopefully get together in the second book. That would be ideal and pretty awesome for me. But I think that's going to wrap up everything I have to say about A Magic Steeped in Poison. So good. I recommend it. Everybody go read it. Thanks for listening, and thanks to David Hillowitz for the intro and outro music. If you have any questions or comments, you can send them to libromancypod@gmail.com. And remember, please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. That really helps out. And remember to brew the magic of books.